In this video, I'm showing you how to set up an AI automation that highly personalizes hundreds or even thousands of DMs on LinkedIn or cold emails in minutes. It uses your lead's LinkedIn profile, their most recent posts, and their company website, and even their company's LinkedIn page. If you've done cold outreach before, you have probably already used something like ChatGPT or so to help you personalize a few messages here and there. But doing that one by one is really not efficient and probably not the best use of your time. The key here is that now you can do this in bulk and across your entire lead list while still maintaining high quality, highly relevant personal intros based on your real data from someone's LinkedIn profile and company. This is the third video in a mini series that I'm doing, and in the first video I showed in depth how to automate the research process on a particular lead for a sales call preparation, for example. In the second video, I explained how to generate lead lists that fit your specific ICP criteria and your value proposition perfectly. If you haven't watched them already yet, please check them out. In today's video, I will show you the entire system from start to finish. As always, the templates are linked in the description down below completely for free. You can copy and paste them into your own n8n instance, copy the entire Airtable base, and get started right away. Once you get a bit more experience with the system, you can fine-tune this to your exact language and to go a lot deeper. But now let me share my screen and show you how this works. Let me first give you a very brief overview of how the process flow looks like of the system before we dive into the actual interfaces and the implementation. So what happens in the system is when you start, you first create a new lead list on Apollo. And again, I have explained all of this in the second video of this series, so I will not run through every single one of these steps in depth again to not make this boring. So if you have missed them, then check out the last videos, please. But after you generated the Apollo lead list, the next step then is to actually scrape all of the data from these leads from various data sources, in this case with Epify, and store all of the data in Airtable, which is our database of choice. And I've also created a nice interview that you can work with so that you don't have to deal with the underlying data structure. After that, an LLM will create a lead research report, both on the person and on their business. And then in the case of this system, write a 3 email sequence for each person. You could also customize that and use that to write longer sequences, shorter sequences, or write even contact or outreach messages on LinkedIn, for example. And finally, sending these emails in tools like Instantly or Smart Leads, for example. So let me show you how the interface of the system looks like. This is the interface of the whole automation, and you can do a bunch of things here. You can manage your Apollo search queries, create new ones, and integrate and scrape the leads from Apollo into this database. And you can also create and manage email campaigns in this case. Of course, you can also manage the leads and the various stages they go through. So first, when you create an Apollo query and scrape the leads, they will get inserted into this Airtable base. Then they will get enriched with data from the sources, and then the campaigns will be generated. In case an error happens in any of the steps, you will find them in the errors tab. So let's quickly check out the Apollo queries. In the previous video, I explained in depth on how you can operate this Apollo queries tab. A little bit has changed here. There is now the Assign Campaigns tab. So after you created some campaigns here in the Campaigns tab, you can assign to this particular query which campaigns you want to generate. I have set it up in a way, in this case, that there will be a random assignment of the campaigns of all leads from this list. The search query stays the same, and also the company description. So how do the campaigns actually look like? In the Campaigns tab, you can find all the available campaigns that you have created, or can also create a new one. You can see how many leads are assigned to it, what the name is, And you can also enter some case studies, for example, as I have entered some anonymized ones for this use case here. And then the campaign prompt is where actually the kind of the secret sauce of the whole system is in. The prompt engineering is most of the time the most difficult one of the entire system to build. So feel free to take that prompt that I created here, replace it with your own, or just fine tune and customize it to what you want. But essentially what we're going to do here in this prompt is we create a 3-step email sequence with different objectives to, for example, establish credibility, create interest. In the second email, we want to reinforce the value with a different angle and some social proof. And in the third one, we're going to have a final touch point with a direct hard CTA and a calendar link. Once you have created the email campaigns and created an Apollo query, enter the Google Sheets URL, then we can start and scrape these leads. So let me show you how this looks like in the workflow. So let me jump into N8N and show you exactly how this looks like. I trigger this now manually so that we can see what actually is going on. So first of all, the automation will trigger a quick Slack message that the research process goes on. And we get the Apollo query with the Google Sheet, get all the previously existing scraped people that are already in the database to avoid any duplicates. And we will fetch the Google Sheet that I've populated with 9 items, in this case, 9 people, for the sake of simplicity and speed. If a new lead is found that is not previously in the system, we will create a new contact in Airtable and insert them, and finally generate some statistics on how many leads we generated and send a success message to Slack. Back in our interface, we can then see that the leads have been scraped and inserted into the system. So you can go actually to the leads scraped page and see all the people coming into the system. You can also click there on a detailed view where you will see some data on the status of that particular lead, their contact data, the research reports that will be generated in the next step, and their personal profiles, company profiles data, so back and so forth. So let's trigger the next step of the report generation. You can do this by going back to the Apollo query interface and click on Enrich. And then the system will start and, let me execute this manually again, will start, get all the leads that were selected for this particular step. Again, we've just scraped 2 leads, and then it will loop over this process and research them one by one automatically. This is how the research step looks like for every single lead. So first of all, we're going to scrape the personal LinkedIn profile, scrape their most recent LinkedIn posts, and also, if available, their company profile and their company website. Last but not least, we will enter in the manual data that we scraped from Apollo, from the lead list, and insert all of that into the AI. What the AI does then is, depending again on the available data, it will create a company sales research report together with some outreach angles and hooks, and it will create a person report for that particular lead. Once the research is finished, it will pass all of that data back into the parent workflow, and let's wait for that to finish. The system has now done the research on the first lead, and it updates it in Airtable and inserts the data into the database. All right, the research of the second lead now also finished and has been updated in Airtable. So let's take a look how this looks like. Back in Airtable, we can see now that 9 leads have been scraped and 2 have been enriched. So let's check out the leads enriched table, where we see our 2 leads that were generated and researched and all of their data. You can see again their contact data, and now the person's research report has been populated with their decision-making profile, current challenges and priorities, their automation and AI readiness, because that is relevant for my business, a fit assessment of the ICP, and personalization opportunities. All the way at the bottom, you will find an outreach strategy with different angles, conversation starters, timing factors, and so on. The same for the company report. You see an in-depth analysis on that business with an overview of them, their operational insights, some growth and challenges, sales opportunity indicators, and personalization hooks again from the business point of view. The next step then is to generate actually the email sequences. So let's go back into our control center and click generate emails. And let me show you how this looks like in N8N. So again, let me execute this manually. And what happens, let me zoom into this a little bit. What happens here is, again, we will get a Slack message that the campaign generation has started. And then the system will fetch the query with the research leads from that campaign that do not have a campaign generated yet. If that is the case, it will check if there is a campaign assigned or not. And if not, a random campaign will be assigned and the updates will be written back into Airtable. And the next step then, we will go into the process of fetching the research leads and then loop over them one by one again to generate the campaigns. And what happens here is if there is enough research data found, the system will generate a campaign based on the assigned campaign prompt from before. So remember, we had 2 campaigns created, so it will be a 50-50 split. And the system then picks the campaign prompt in this step together with all the research data for that particular lead and create that campaign for them. The 3 emails and their subjects will be extracted in this step and stored all the way back to Airtable. So let's jump back into Airtable and have a look how it looks like. Back into Airtable, we can see now that emails have been generated for 2 leads. So check out the leads generated tab and we see again our 2 people from the previous step. So let's open one and check out their generated campaigns all the way. Here you can see now the emails that have been generated for that particular lead. So the subject says, Christopher, scaling NetCarrier's consultative model without losing quality. Hi, Christopher, congratulations on your recent transition to EVP Technical Advertisement at NetCarrier. Your evolution from telecom provider to full-service business solutions provider caught my attention, especially given your consultative sales approach and custom solution focus. I recently helped a medtech consulting firm, that's then my case study, to automate their CV parsing and formatting process, reducing 2 hours of manual work to 2 minutes per CV, saving them 20+ hours monthly while maintaining their quality standards. Given NetCarrier's commitment to exceeding highest expectations, this is in quotes because I probably got it from a LinkedIn post, and your experience integrating acquired companies, I imagine you face interesting challenges around scaling your high-touch approach while standardizing workflows across different business units. How do you currently balance maintaining that consultative quality with operational efficiency as you grow? Best, Steven. And the other emails then go in a similar style depending on the prompt that we have included. And here in the last one, you can see that the hard CTA is included together with the booking link. Creating such personalized and highly tailored email campaigns is just one way of using these research data on every single person. The world is really your oyster here. You can do pretty much anything with that you want at any scale that you want. Other use cases could be, as I said before, to write some contact request messages on LinkedIn. You could also customize cold outreach sales scripts to these leads that you want to call with your sales reps. There is just endless opportunities of using this system. As always, you will find the links again of the Airtable database and the N8N automation blueprint in the description in the links down below. They're completely free of charge, so feel free to use them, copy and paste them into your environment and tailor them to your specific needs. Let me know if you have any questions to the systems and let me know your use cases for this automation down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.